Michael Lewis here with Christian Martial Arts. We're talking also how to throw needles, or throwing spikes, whichever you prefer to call them. Also sort of depends on the size. Throwing spikes can get roughly, pretty long. You know, you can have 14 inches up to even 16-inch spikes. The spikes I'm using today are a lot smaller. They're actually pretty much the size of a pencil. So if you take a look at it, it's only tapered on one end. Sometimes you can find spikes that are tapered out on both ends, so it helps when you're throwing it. You have a better chance of sticking it. What I like to do as far as throwing the needle is have a very loose grip so that it sort of bounces in your hand a little bit. I take my pointing finger, line it up in the middle of the spike. Then I take my middle finger and my thumb, line them up together, and then use the third finger to place it right on the tapered end. Again, keeping a very light grip, just like a throwing knife. You take your elbow, point into it, and then just let it loose right at the appropriate moment. It takes a lot of feeling to it. You sort of have to feel it out, so it takes quite a bit of practice. Once you land a throwing spike into your target, try to remember how you just threw it, because that's very important. You'll sort of get a good feel of it. The execution of it and the release of your spike is very, very, very important. Another way of throwing a needle, and this way, again, it just sort of depends on what your preference is and actually what works best for you. This way hasn't actually worked too well for me, but you hold it near the very end without the spike there. The spike will be on this end. You hold it at the end where it sort of has enough loose grip in it, so it wobbles back and forth. All you do is you just the same way, you just let it loose, pointing your elbow in the right direction. All the action is from the elbow up to the arm. You just execute it, flip it out. What you're trying to do is actually look for at least 1 to 2 spins for it to get into your target, which also depends on your distance. And so that's just one way of getting started into throwing needles.